Your dream is stupid and you should give up because it's impossible. This is something we have all heard in various forms at one point in our lives from our friends, our families, or from people we love and admire. These words tend to crush our spirits and the belief in our dreams and goals. I know I personally was filled with many doubts and let go of some of my dreams and aspirations in the past, and I definitely have regrets about it. Over the course of this year, I began to watch One Piece, which was an anime I watched a few episodes of as a kid, but I never really got into it. I had heard many good things about this anime, and although I heard many complaints about the anime being too long, specifically that it was over 1,000 episodes long, I decided to give it a shot. I figured if it doesn't click with me after a few episodes, I would drop it. Immediately after being introduced to the main protagonist, Monkey D. Luffy, in the first episode, I was hooked. Luffy was determined to become the king of the pirates no matter what it would take or who he would have to face. Yeah, Luffy didn't think a lot of things through and just ended up jumping into the action, but sometimes that's what you have to do in life, regardless of the rewards or consequences. In the first few episodes, you get to see Luffy inspire and befriend Kobe to chase his dreams of becoming a marine, despite him being full of fear and doubts. Eiichiro Oda was brilliant in showing the difference between someone who isn't afraid to chase their dreams versus someone who is full of doubts and fears. Kobe was imprisoned to work as a chore boy for a pirate named Alvida, but Luffy helps him escape her ship. For a long time, I was like Kobe, afraid of chasing my dreams because of the place I was stuck in and my current life circumstances. That would all change when I met people with similar interests and dreams like me. These people would not only become my friends, but they also would become my biggest supporters to follow my dreams. Just like Luffy was inspired by one of the 4 emperors of the sea, red-haired Shanks, to become a pirate, I had to set sail on my own to gather my own crew to achieve my dreams, no matter the difficulties or enemies I would have to face on this journey. I knew I would have to see this to the end. After Luffy helped Kobe escape, he would meet the man who would become his first mate, the legendary pirate hunter Roro Zoro. Now, Zoro was arrested for defending a little girl from being attacked by a wolf that belonged to Helmeppo, who was a marine captain's son. Luffy would break into the base where Zoro was being held with the help of Kobe and Rika, who was the little girl Zoro had saved. Zoro was very hesitant in joining up with Luffy as a pirate since he did not want to become a criminal, and he had his own dream of becoming the world's greatest swordsman. Zoro would later change his mind when he was informed by Helmeppo that he would be executed. They escaped from the prison and both Luffy and Zoro would be labeled as criminals. The Marines would catch up to Luffy, Zoro, Kobe, and Riku. Luffy knows that Kobe wants to become a Marine, so to help him disassociate with the group, Luffy tells the Marines his backstory as Alvida's chore boy to convince the Marines to take Kobe on as a new recruit. Kobe got mad and punched Luffy, which is exactly what Luffy wanted to happen since this would convince the Marines that Kobe was not affiliated with him or Zoro. Luffy and Zoro would leave that island, leaving Kobe behind to join the Marines, and Riku stayed with her mother. Luffy and Zoro continued their journey in building up their crew, which would one day be called the legendary Straw Hat Pirates. Just like in life, there's gonna be lots of setbacks when it comes to chasing your dreams, but when you find the right people, they will help push you beyond what you think is possible. You'll pick up friends along the way, but also make some enemies in the journey. I've learned the hard way many times that following your dreams is not as easy as it comes, and it may take a very long time before you see any results happen. This is the same journey that Luffy will have to endure when it comes to building up his crew and achieving his dream of becoming the king of the pirates. There's gonna be some losses, but also some wins along this journey. But as long as you keep pushing towards your dreams, you'll find the right people to help you achieve them one day. Luffy and Zoro would meet a cat burglar by the name of Nami who was collecting 100 million berries from robbing pirates and other criminals. Nami would get chased by the buggy pirates and would get Luffy's help in order to get them off her back. Nami would reveal to Luffy that she was a navigator, and without a second thought, Luffy would ask Nami to join his crew as her navigator, but Nami refused since she hates pirates. Nami would proceed to betray Luffy to Buggy the Star Clown, who's the captain of the Buggy Pirates, just to get them off her back, and also because she planned to rob them as well. In order to gain his trust, Buggy demanded that Nami fire a cannon at Luffy, but Nami refused. Buggy orders pirates to attack her, but Zoro arrives in time to save Luffy and Nami. Once again, Nami is forced to work temporarily with Luffy and Zoro to defeat Buggy and his crew to get them off her back. After a few episodes, they defeat Buggy and his crew, and Nami agrees to temporarily join Luffy's crew as their navigator if she can keep Buggy's treasure, which he agrees to. Just like Luffy in my own pursuit of following my dreams, I met people who I thought would be interested in being a part of my crew and would possibly be my friend. But I too was backstabbed by some people. Some of those people would eventually become my friends, and others would just become my enemies. But just like Luffy, I kept an open heart and open mind, and will continue on my journey to find more people that would help me and also become my friend. Let's just say being naive has both its pros and cons in life, but you can't learn anything if you don't pursue what you value the most, which for most of us is our dreams. Luffy would go on many adventures and recruit people along the way to join his crew, like Usopp, Sanji, Vivi, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brook, and Jinbei. Luffy had always set out a goal of recruiting 10 people to his crew to help him find the One Piece. While Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates had many fun adventures across the sea, they had to face many enemies that would challenge them in many ways, but at least for a while, it seemed the Straw Hat Pirates were invincible. This would all change when the crew headed to Alabasta to help Vivi stop Crocodile from taking over her kingdom. This was the first time the Straw Hats would lose and Luffy would be humbled by Crocodile twice. This was a true challenge for the crew because they were not facing just one enemy, but a whole network of villains called Baroque Works, who were working for Crocodile, who was also one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Luffy almost died several times facing Crocodile, but Luffy was determined to beat him no matter the cost. Alabasta was almost plunged into civil war, but Luffy and the Straw Hats were able to defeat Crocodile and Baroque Works. The way Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates carry themselves is the way we should follow our own dreams and passions. While we all may be different with our own goals and ambitions, we must realize that we can't follow our dreams on our own. There will be many challenges, obstacles, and people who will be determined to see you give up, but we all have to suffer some losses to follow our dreams. No matter who is in our way, we have to keep moving forward. Luffy and the crew would go through more adventures, but Luffy's relationship with one of his friends would change forever during the Water 7 arc. The Going Merry, which was the Straw Hats' pirate ship, would be damaged severely after the events of Skypiea, and the crew would head to Water 7 for repairs, only to be told by the shipwrights there that the ship can't be repaired and they would need to replace her. This caused a huge division between Luffy and Usopp. See, Usopp was the one responsible for repairing the Going Merry after all the battles they put her through. Even though Usopp wasn't a shipwright, he cared deeply about the Going Merry since it was given to him by his friend Kaya back at his home in Syrup Village. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates all were grieving in their own way of having to abandon the Going Merry. Usopp refused to believe that the Going Merry could not be repaired and that Luffy wanted a new ship. Luffy and Usopp argued until Usopp decided to leave the crew. Usopp would return to challenge Luffy in taking control of the Going Merry. It was a hard-fought battle, but Usopp would lose against Luffy. This was the first time we saw Luffy cry because he had to not only fight with a friend, but he had to say goodbye to him. This was a very hard thing to watch for not only the Straw Hat Pirates, but also for us, the viewers. Just like Luffy and Usopp's friendship ended there will be times along our journey where we will lose friends along the way over certain ideas or differences, and it will hurt us having to let them go. Eventually, Usopp returned to the crew and he was able to patch things up, but that is not always the case in real life. This event would mark the beginning of a darker saga for the Straw Hat Pirates. Luffy had no idea what troubles lied ahead for him or the crew. Luffy and the crew reached the halfway point of their journey to find the One Piece and knew they would have to cross over to the New World to find it. Unfortunately, during the Sabaody Archipelago arc, Luffy and the crew would be confronted by Navy admirals, which were the strongest fighters in the Navy. Luffy realized they were too weak to fight them, and they were on the verge of getting caught by the Navy until Kuma, who was a member of the 7 Warlords of the Sea, separated the Straw Hats, scattering them across different parts of the world. They were now all on their own, and Luffy would discover that his brother Ace was captured and was going to be executed by the Navy. Just like the Straw Hat Pirates were separated from each other, there would be a time where you would be alone and separated from your friends due to life events that separate us, like moving, going to different schools, work, etc. It's during these times where a lot of things, both good and bad, will happen to you, and I could say those words for certain from my own experience. There will be things that change your life forever, and that is something that was going to happen to Luffy. After learning about his brother's scheduled execution, Luffy makes his way to save him by trying to break him out of prison in Impel Down. Despite Luffy breaking into Impel Down and gathering new allies to save Ace, they are too late and Ace is transported to Marineford, where his execution is scheduled to take place. Luffy and his allies travel to Marineford, where the Whitebeard pirates are having an all-out war against the Navy trying to rescue Ace. Luffy and his allies align with the Whitebeard pirates to save Ace, and they are successful with breaking Ace out of his chains, but due to Luffy's carelessness with his brother's Weaver card, they are attacked by Admiral Aquino, and Ace sacrifices himself to save Luffy. Luffy watches Ace die right before his eyes and he is left severely traumatized. Luffy, unable to move, was saved by Jinbei, although Luffy was severely injured by Aquino. Whitebeard would also die after Ace, and this would mark the beginning of a new era that would shock the entire world. It's hard to admit, but while we may feel invincible or believe that the people around us are immortal, the truth is they're not, and they can be gone in an instant. Luffy learned this the hard way with Ace, and just like Luffy, we can be left severely traumatized. Many of us have already experienced a loss in our life, whether it's family, friends, loved ones, etc. We become extremely vulnerable in those situations because we can't imagine living on without them, and the fact they won't be there to watch us accomplish our dreams. While loss is inevitable, we have to gather the strength to carry on the spirits of those that have fallen, and to reach our goal before our own time comes. The Straw Hat Pirates learn about the events of Marineford and how they couldn't be there for Luffy when he lost Ace, but Luffy would gather the courage to send them a message to wait for 2 years before they reunite so they could train and prepare for the new world. 2 years would pass and the Straw Hats would reunite back at Sabaody Archipelago, where they would defeat it, but this time they were prepared and stronger than they ever were before. Luffy and his crew would set off to the new world where new challenges, enemies, and stakes were higher than ever before. The Straw Hat Pirates were tested, and even their newfound strengths wouldn't be enough, but during their adventures from Fishman Island to Wano, they learned how to push past their limits. Luffy is getting closer to finding the One Piece and fulfilling his dream of becoming king of the pirates. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates fought against 2 Emperors of the Sea with the assistance of new allies like Trafalgar Deepwater Law, Eustace Captain Kidd, and the Ninja Pirate Mink Samurai Alliance. During his fight with Kaido, Luffy awakened the power of his Devil Fruit and became a literal god. Luffy has yet to learn the truth about his power, but he is now part of the legacy of the Void Century and fulfilling the promise that Joy Boy made over 800 years ago. We are finally approaching the final saga of One Piece and the conclusion to this epic tale. While there will be plenty of challenges, obstacles, and enemies in our own journey of following our dreams, we are ultimately not alone. We will have friends along the way that help build us up. We must be ready for everything, all the good things that will happen on our path, but also all the bad things. There will be losses and some friendships may end, but the journey must continue until we become the king of the pirates. Just like Luffy and the Straw Hats, we must push past our limits and never give up on our hopes and dreams.